Okay, so this is video 5, and it shows um, statement. Uh, I became aware that James A. Ramsey had also told Niagara Regional Police Service to flag me to CPIC as V for violent, and I had a really hard time trying to get that corrected. I only learned about it after I was driving through Guelph one day and police pulled me over for no reason, and they came up to my window and said, "Well, what'd you do?" Like, what are you talking about? And they said, "Oh, you're flagged V for violent with CPIC. What did you do?" You know, I hadn't done anything. I was a victim. Anyway, that's how I became aware of it, and I had a heck of a time trying to get that corrected. It was relied on by police and employers for over a decade to harass me in the community and to deny me, police service. RCMP denied having any records. Then they admitted they had someone. I gave them names, dates, and times I had contact with the RCMP, but then they wouldn't remove the false flag, and they really give you a hard time, eh? And one day I was so frustrated that I fired off an email to Commissioner Paulson, and I was surprised to hear back from him. He emailed me back within 5 minutes, and put me in touch with an RCMP officer who spent about 40 minutes with me, and offered to be, he looked into it and offered to be a witness if it ever went to court. And he said, though, that RCMP couldn't remove it because the data belonged to Niagara Regional Police Service. So I had also made a Freedom of Information request for access to the same data from Niagara Regional Police Service. But after Paulson got this RCMP officer to help me, then Niagara Regional Police Service, instead of giving me access that I'd asked for, they told me they destroyed the records. I don't believe that. I don't believe they destroyed the records. I think they just didn't want me to see them. Same as with Hamilton, they put me in jail so I can't get access to records. I mean, what's in those records? Somebody should take a look. And anyway, I think the records exist. I don't think they're on CPIC anymore, maybe, but I think they still exist somewhere. And Don Fraser, the lawyer, the Hamilton lawyer, he was right. The crimes I have described violate sections 137 and 465 of the Criminal Code. My enemies, including whoever may have misused their top security clearance to put falsehoods into my personal records, as the OPP officer said. And police and Crown attorneys have made common cause to fabricate evidence and lie to the court in order to harm me. It's intentional because, I have complained to enough people about what's happened that, it's really, really willful blindness to go ahead and pretend like they don't know. They could have looked into it. They would have found what the truth was. And after the third wrongful charge was dismissed, the Crown attorney, he said to me, "Maybe now you won't complain anymore." Okay. Anyway, after I recovered from the assaults I was the victim of in my 20s, I worked really hard to recover a career and a place in society. I hoped to meet someone and build a family. I was older. I was older, but still I could have adopted an older child. I could have made a family for myself. I could have had a career still. But the harassment and reprisal for reporting sex crimes, it interfered with those goals. And the car hit, that left me with severe, stop it, buddy, with severe spinal stenosis. And I had to have a pacemaker put in because after I was hit, I kept falling asleep in public, and my heart when they finally found out about it, the doctor said it was beating between 10 and 12 beats a minute, which, you know, I was awake. I don't know how that's possible, but that's what Dr. Jeremy Jones said. Anyway, and I have a misaligned jaw that has caused most of my teeth to fall out. And the decades of harassment and reprisal, death threats, social exclusion, and poverty have left me with virtually no... Buddy, stop it! With virtually no society and no means with which to pay for what I need to survive. I don't blame the rank and file police for neglecting to help me, although I believe each of us has the responsibility to determine what is right and then to do it. But I do blame the executive of the civilian oversight agencies, OCOPS, OIPERD, and the OCPC, Warren Coral, I spoke with him, and Catherine Rippey, because they were well aware of it. I mean, I talked to them and I told them, and they did nothing. They could have done, I mean, you know, they have a lot of power, they have authority, and they have power, and they could have done something, and they did nothing. And OIPERD, and he was previously he was the same mediator I had all the way. I mean, I made several complaints to OCOPS and to OIPERD because the lawyer, Marion Wright, had told me that, you know, I should do that because it might actually help the police to share with me some information, but it didn't. You know, he was great. You know, I have absolutely no problem with this media, and I can give his name to whoever wants it. But he told me finally, he said, you know, they don't even read complaints that are submitted unless the chief of police of the police service that's complained about, unless they want an investigation. They don't even read them. They don't even read them. I mean, that to me, that really disrespects the public and the public. It undermines the public good. And I know I'm not alone in my experience. While I recovered from the sex assaults in my 20s and 30s, I typed transcripts for the special examiner, and I heard all sorts of stories similar to mine about professional women targeted for daring to seek careers in male-dominated fields. One professor, she was the only tenured professor at Western in the philosophy department at that time, and she told me, don't let the men intimidate you. And she told me that she'd been dragged by a car, and she had a really bad limp. That's what they left her with, a really bad limp. She got tenure though. I didn't, because, you know, I was too intimidated by it. You know, that sex offender, I mean, was he hired? I mean, he was hired. They do that kind of thing. They hire people. I know that because, well, he had me captive for 2 days. He told me about it. So was he hired to do it to me? I don't know. Maybe. And I was also approached by a couple of people who were complete strangers, women, both of them, who told me they'd heard about my situation. I don't know who told them. But they were targeted. They told me stories similar to mine. They were targeted with reprisal. I mean, and some of it really, really insidious. Like one woman, a guy came along. He befriended her just so that he could ruin her. I mean, so she was like, she had to move in with her, and terrible nonsense. Anyway, and the a neighborhood watch woman too. She would make a good witness as well. She was targeted as well. Anyway, and I also testified at the Select Committee on Sexual Violence and Harassment at the Ontario Legislature on 25 March 2015, but no one followed up on that either. There's a transcript of that online. And on the advice of a lawyer who said it might stop the reprisal, local lawyer Scott McLeod, he told me to do this, so I did, and I wrote and filed a lawsuit against various agents of government whose neglect facilitated the reprisal. But that also failed. That didn't work either. The court refused to even look at my evidence or to hear my witnesses. So much for good record keeping, eh? I appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, but no court would look at my, and the respondents. I named the Crown attorneys and the police executive, and none of them even bothered to file a statement of defense. That's how bad things are. I mean, these people, they can get away with criminal behavior. And Tucker Carlson he was just on the news recently saying fabrication of evidence, that's a really bad crime. And I'm thinking, not in Canada, it's not. Anyway, it's a bitter pill to have to swallow, what's happened to me for opposing organized sex crimes. You'd think that would be okay. You'd think that would be encouraged. But, nope. And, nothing I've done so far has succeeded to make this right or to get anyone with the authority of the law to correct it. But I hope that in the current political climate that may change. So that's the end.